Hello and welcome to the trackrti tutorial. The purpose of this tutorial is to show you how to use the trackrti application to create interactive progress monitoring graphs for your students. When you purchase a subscription to the trackrti website on Teachers Pay Teachers, within 24 hours your Teachers Pay Teachers username will be entered into the system and you can come to this page to create an account. A link to this page is provided in the download file. Alright, so you enter your Teachers Pay Teachers username into the form, click on enter, and it presents you with a form to create an account. I'm going to put in a username, put in a password, confirm the password, put in an email address and a school name. And before I enter this data, I just want to point out that this is a secure website. If you look up here in the address bar, we have the lock and the green bar here, the green address. So that that lets you know that any data that you send to this site or any data that is sent from this site to your browser is encrypted. Alright, so I'm going to click on the enter button and the new account is created and it takes you to the main page of the application. Alright, this large empty grid area here is the area where your charts or your graphs will appear once you've created them. And the first thing that I'm going to do is show you how to create a new chart. Alright, so I'm going to click on the Create New Chart link. That opens this dialog. And the first thing it asks you is how many data points will your graph contain in total when it's finished. The limit is 50 because that's about all that will fit on. But you can choose any number up to 50. I'm going to choose 30. The second question is how many data points would you like to enter at this time? I'm going to enter 5. And this one is asking me for a title for my chart. I'm going to call it Reading Progress 2013. Now if this was an account that that was in use and I had students already entered into the application, and if this chart was for an existing student, I could pick the name from this drop-down list. Since this is a new application or a new account, there are no names in there, so I'm going to create a new student name, and you can create a new student name at any time. The new student is going to be named George Washington, and I'm going to click on the enter button. Alright, that takes me to the second part of creating a chart. As you can see, the student's name is up here and the ID number that he's been assigned. So I need a label for the x-axis. The x-axis is the horizontal label at the bottom of the graph, and that is going to show the dates that the reading probes are administered. So I'm going to call that reading probe dates. And now I'm going to make up 5 data points. These would be words per minute. So I'm going to start with 50. Now if you're doing reading fluency probes, you're probably going to want to track the number of errors that the student makes. So I'm going to click here to add this optional data error set or error data set. So I'll make up some error data Click on enter, and that takes me to the third and final phase of creating a new chart. All right, I need to designate a date for each one of those 5 data points that I entered. So I click in the text field, and this calendar appears, and I'm going to choose 5 dates, starting with the first Monday in September. I'm going to pick each Monday and Friday. So I have 5. If I clicked on one by accident, if I click on it again, it will go away. All right, so I can click as many dates as I need to and then close it. The next thing I need to do is create the aim line. I'm going to start at 50, and the goal is going to be 50 is the baseline. The goal is going to be 100. All right, now I need to designate a y-axis legend. That's the vertical axis on the left-hand side, and that's going to track words per minute. All right, now the next thing it's asking is for me to assign the student to a group, and also to provide a name for the assessment that the student is going to be taking. The reason for this is, well, there are a couple reasons. First of all, just to organize things. Also, there's a search function in the application, so that if I just want to view the charts for students in a particular group, or students in a particular group taking a particular assessment, I can search and just view the charts of those students. The other reason is that the application will automatically compute a class average or a group average for all the students in a particular group taking a particular assessment. Each time that assessment is taken, or each time that assessment is given, the data that's entered on a particular day for each student will be averaged together. So I can show an additional data set showing the average of the group, the average score of the group, and I can compare a student's progress relative to the progress of the group as a whole. Okay, so I need to create a new group. I'm going to call it first period reading. Now I might be doing more than one assessment with that group. I could be doing a fluency assessment, I could along with a maze kind of assessment. So I'm going to designate this as reading fluency. Now after I create these options will appear in that drop-down list the next time I create a chart. So I click on enter, and this is the chart that was created from that data that I entered. All right, if you look at the top of above your chart up here, the student's name appears. There's only one name up here right now because there's only one student entered into the system. But if I mouse over the student's name, I see a list of options here. The first one shows me the title of the chart, because if I have 7 or 8 students listed across here, it's showing me the first chart. So if I wanted to look at the other students' charts, or the title of the chart, I can see what the title is. All right. So the first option here is to show a group average. That's not going to show anything right now because there's only one student. The next option is to add an aim line. If I click on that, it adds an aim line to the chart. And we'll talk about these options a little bit more in a few minutes. But the second one will show a single trend line. This next one would show a unique trend line if I had more than one phase, which I can show you a little bit later. Right now I only have one phase. This shows an extrapolated view, which we'll look at later. And the last option here is to email the chart. And again, show that later. All right, so the chart itself. The left-hand side shows words per minute. That's the y-axis label. This is the number of words a student read per minute. Down here are the assessment dates and the x-axis. All right, you'll notice if I mouse over any of these data points, it shows me the value of the data point. It also is a link. So if I click on any of these data points, I get this dialog which shows me, offers me several options. All right, down here at the bottom, underneath the chart, this is the search function I was talking about. Right now I only have one group, one assessment, and one student. This is a link to reset the search if I want to clear it and do a new search. This is the link to create a new chart. This link right here shows you some reminders, shows you some explains how the chart works. Down here in this table, this is giving me information about whatever chart I'm currently viewing. All right, so this is telling me that this chart was created on this date. There's the title, the group, the student, the name of the assessment, and each one of these is editable. If I mouse over it, you see that it's a link. If I click on it, it gives me a dialog where I can edit the name of, this would be the chart title. If I had made a mistake when I created the chart title, I could change it here. Or the name of the group, or the student's name, or the name of the assessment. All right, this next link here shows a data report. If I click on that, it appears, I have to scroll, it doesn't look like anything happens, but if you scroll down, you'll see the data report. Right now I only have one phase, so it's showing me the data points that occur in that phase, and it's giving me a brief analysis here telling me if there was an increase from one assessment to the next. Right now it's showing no increase. Okay, the next link is a link to add data. If I click on that, this dialog comes up and I can add data points. I'm going to use that in a minute. This is showing the goal that I set when I created the aim line. That I can also change if I need to. I may need to adjust it up if the student is exceeding expectations. This is showing the predicted success point. And right now this is a mathematical prediction based on the student's current progress. Right now it's predicting that the student will reach the goal of 100 words per minute at the 15th data point. All right, so it's showing, according to the data that I have so far, that he's going to reach 100 words per minute before I reach my 30 assessments. So this would probably be a good case to, a good example to raise the goal. So let's see what happens if I raise the goal to 125. All right, it's now predicting that the success point will occur at data point 23, which is still well before the 30th assessment. So let's try 140. Still showing that he's going to reach that by the 28th. So let's do 150. All right, now that it's predicting no success point, but that's okay for the purposes of our example. So I can show you uh, how to designate an intervention or a phase change. Okay, this is a link to print the chart. If I click on that, a new window appears. In this new window, it shows you the chart in whatever form it appeared on the page. It also shows the data report. As you can see, if I mouse over it, it's no longer interactive. It's a static image, so I can print it. If you're using Internet Explorer, um, it will just print directly. That window won't appear. This last link is to delete the chart. Um, if I clicked on yes, the chart would be deleted. Okay. So let's set this last point here, since he's not predicted to reach his goal within the 30 assessments. Let's set this last point here as a phase change. Normally, you wouldn't do a phase change after after 5 data points. Uh, 13 is considered a significant number to make a decision with. But just for the sake of example, we'll set this as a phase change. All right, so the first option here is to delete the data point. That's not what I want to do. Second option is to change it if it was a mistake. The third option is to designate it as a phase change. And I also have the option here of adding a note to remind me what the phase change consisted of. I'm just going to call it phase change 1, and I'm going to set it. All right, so now you can see that the data point is shown with this star here. So I know immediately that that's a point where it was the end of this first phase, and an intervention has taken place. So we can compare the students' progress before the phase change took place and their rate of progress after. All right, so what I'm going to do is add some more data. I'll add 5 more data points. The last data point here is the 16th. So I'll add 5 more. And I'll make up some error data. And I'll put the 5 dates in. All right, the last one was on September 16th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click on enter. All right, and there are 5 new data points. All right, now you can see that the predicted success point has changed because we put in some very positive data here. And if I go up here and click on unique trend line for each phase, it now shows me a trend line for that initial phase, and it shows me a trend line for this second phase. And as you can see, the trend line, let's change this. Let's just make it a little more obvious. Let's change this to change this to all right, now we can see that the trend line is much more positive than in the first phase. So our intervention has been a tremendous success. Okay. This next view here is called the extrapolated view. I want to show you also, if I click on the data report link now, it now shows the two separate phases. The first phase, it shows the data point in each phase, the data points in each phase, and here's your phase change note, and here's the data points in the second phase. It also gives you the shows you the rate of increase that there was from one data point to the next in each phase. Okay, so if I go up here and click on this extrapolated view, this is an extension of shows you what the chart would look like based on the student's current rate of progress. All right, so as it says here in the chart, he's predicted now to reach his success point to reach success by the 18th data point, which is designated by this red bow tie here. So this is kind of a mathematical extrapolation of where his points might fall using his current rate of progress. Okay, so it's a tool to use in decision making, whether or not a goal should be raised, whether or not an intervention needs to take place. So that's the purpose of it. Okay, the last link here is to email the chart. Let's go to this view. All right, now if I email this chart, it should be sent in whatever view, whatever it looks like on the page. That's what it will look like in the email. So I'm going to send this to myself so we can see if it works. It better. And we'll give that a few minutes, see if it shows up. Okay, I'm going to log into another account now that has some more students entered so that I can show you some of the other features of the application. Okay, as you can see in this account, there are 8 students. You can see their names listed across the top. And I can show you what will happen once you get a lot of names up here. If there are too many to fit, I can show you how the application handles that. So here's the first student is, the first chart that is showing is Larry. If I click on Biff, it will switch to his chart. Joseph. So the chart is changing, and also the information at the bottom is changing each time I click on a name. So let's take a look at the search function. In this account I have 2 groups, one called First Period and one called Math Skills. I have 2 assessments, a multiplication fluency assessment and a reading fluency, and I have the 8 students. Alright, so each time I click on one of these, so if I click on First Period, this drop down menu is now changed. It will only show the assessments that are available, that go with the first period group. So if I click on reading fluency, now in the student list, it will only show the students that are in that group taking that assessment. Right, so if I click on search, there are the 5 students who are in that group taking the reading fluency assessment. Another way I can use this if I wanted to see all the assessments that a particular student is taking, I think in my example account here, Joseph is taking 2 different assessments. Okay, so I can see all the assessments that Joseph is taking. The first one is the multiplication, and the second one is the reading. All right, so this can really come in handy if you're using this for a lot of students in different groups taking different assessments. You may have a group where you have 2 groups taking 2 different assessments, or one group taking 2 different assessments. You can use this to view only those students. All right, so I'm going to reset this. Now I only have 8 students in here, so fitting the names on up here is not a problem. But I can show you what happens if there were too many names. I think the default is 15. But if at any time if the names are not fitting on, or this is what will happen. I go to settings here, and let's set it for 5, or let's set it for 4. Alright, so now only 4 names are going to be displayed. Alright, so if I want to see any more of the names, I need to click here to the right. I can see 7 and 8, and then I can go back this way. The application will do this on its own once it hits 15, once there are 15 names across here. If you happen to have 13 or 14 names and they're really long, you can, and they're not fitting on, you can set it manually up here. Alright, so I'm going to set it back to the default 15. Okay, so I'm going to do the search for that first period group again. And now I can show you, since all the students in this group are taking the same assessment, they're all in the same group, they're taking the same assessment, and the data, okay, each one of the results of each of these probes were entered on the same date. Or, I mean, they don't necessarily have to be entered on the same date. You just use the same date when you enter the data for the assessments that should go together. So I can now show that group average. And so when I click on the group average, it shows another data set, so that I can compare Biff's progress to the average of the group. You can see that Biff is performing just a little bit better than the class average. And try Joseph. Joseph is consistently performing a little bit under the class average. Okay. Let me show you a couple other things here. When you have a particular group of students, and in most cases, if you're doing regular assessments with a group, you're probably going to be, what you probably would want to do is, when you do an assessment on a given day, you're going to want to enter that data for the group. So you would be entering one result per student, but for the entire group. So I have a group entry link up here. So I'm going to click on that. And that takes me to a page that works exactly the same way as the search function in the other on the other page. All right, so if I choose that group, that first period group, and they're all taking that assessment. Let's say I want to add data for September 30th. So I'm going to pick that date and click on search. Alright, now I can enter data for one data point for each one of those students all on the same day, whatever date I pick up at the top. Alright, so let's say Biff read 90 words with 3 errors. Joseph read 95 words with 2 errors. Melvin, 87 words with 1 error. Gina, 85 words with 6 errors. And Priscilla read 90 words. All right, now you see there's no error field for her here. That's because when that chart was created, a data line was not created, so it doesn't appear there. Okay, I click on enter. All right, it says my data has been entered, so I can go back to the main page if I want to, or if I want to enter more data for another group or another set of data for this group, I can go back up to the top. Let me go back to the main page. Search that group again, and they should each have a data point entered for the 30th. Here's one for Biff. There's one for Joseph. There's Melvin's. There's Gina's. And there's Priscilla's. All right, so that's a quick way of entering one data point for each member of the group, so that you can enter your data one assessment at a time. Okay. Also, want to show you up here that I've created a message board. Right now, it just has the test messages that I created to make sure that it was working. This is for if you have any issues with the site, you can report them here. It's a quick and easy way for me to see if anybody's having any issues with the application, and an easy way for me to respond. So it's a good way to communicate if there's any problems. Also, if there's any feature requests, anything like that, I would be happy to look at them there. Okay, let's check to see if that chart has come in yet. It has. And there it is. There's George's chart. All right, so if you ever need to send a chart to anyone, that's a quick and easy way to do that. Okay, I think that's a pretty good overview of the application. I'm sure I've forgotten something somewhere along the line, but like I said, if there's any issues, you can ask a question at the Teachers Pay Teachers website. You can ask a question on the message board, and I'll be happy to respond. I want to thank you for taking the time to view this. Also, if you ever want to view it again, there's a link to the demo video here, and so you can review it if you need to. So I want to thank you, and happy progress monitoring.